Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys up in Canada. We have about 11 countries in Europe now following Big C Sports on iHeartRadio, and there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all you good old boys?
The only thing we got down here is free right now. The heat. They're giving it away like it's free or something. We went from a deluge for about a week where nothing was dry. I couldn't even put on dry underwear.
Yeah, that's funny.
I feel like I'm wearing starch on everything.
Hey, they're going to start learning and tax the heat, too. And in fact, they already do tax the heat, Big C. Out here in California, a lot of home builders, they sell people on getting solar for your home, and they'll tell you that the solar is free, right? You use enough to get the rebate and all that stuff, then it's free. But there's a tax on everything, so they learn to tax the sun, they learn to tax the water, because bottled water is what they force people to buy, even though the plastic's not good for the environment. So you said the heat's free? No, it's not free in California. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when we look at the new administration and this new tax law, there won't be anything that's not taxed. They're going to tax your dreams. You need to close your eyes because you know you're going to have to pay for it.
Well, I think Richard Pryor told that joke back in the day. He said, you got dreams, we want them too. I'll never forget that story, the great Richard Pryor. But also, I want to say today is a beautiful June 26, 2017 in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But I do got to tell you something about this expanding economy with the Trump administration. A lot of sad news for a lot of housewives, Big C. Massage Envy is closing some of the doors in Northern California. What in the world are people going to do to get it back rub, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you talk about stress relief, and somebody that was a wonderful thing. Now you got to go out and find yourself a dog because it's $40.
Yeah.
Have him walk up and maybe put some peanut butter on there, and he'll spend some time on that.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you, I was worried about that because I said, how are people going to start feeling relaxed with massage business? $90 is not too much to ask for a massage. I guess that's what they thought. But, yeah, it's a shame, but they got out of business. And not all of them, but there are a lot of them closing shop, and that's a shame since we hear the economy's coming back. And, Big C, based on the economy, the world of sports, we got some things to talk about in football. The Sports Illustrated, actually ESPN, their body edition is out. They got that good old boy for the Dallas Cowboys, the running back. He's running around naked on the ESPN magazine, Big C. I thought it was you at first, but I said, no, Big C doesn't run the football. He grabs footballs, Big C, so I knew it wasn't you. Your thought on, I guess, the ESPN body edition, Big C. Are you going to be in this year's edition, Big C?
Well, you should have known it wasn't me. I shaved my beard off.
Yeah.
But the body edition of ESPN that they put out every year rivals the swimsuit edition.
Oh, no, it doesn't rival Big. Hold on. It doesn't rival the swimsuit edition. Ezekiel Elliott does not look like some of the other women they put on the body edition. I'll just leave it that way, Big. So your thoughts?
I'm talking about the appreciation of an athlete.
Oh, okay.
They put into their craft.
Oh, okay.
When you think about, you just don't walk out there and perform anymore as an athlete. It is a year-round gig as far as keeping your body in peak condition, Charlton.
Yeah.
So the dedication that these athletes, male and female, put forth to be able to be honored by being put into the body edition of Sports Illustrated is a great tributation to your craft and your sport.
Yeah.
Because, they go through people just like the swimsuit edition.
Yeah.
Auditioning. It's not athletes that don't want to be put on there. I remember a couple years ago, Vince Wilfork was put on there, so it was an everyman position.
Yeah.
Vince rolled in at about 400 pounds and took 2 pages to get a body shot in. So, it was like a double edition when they put Vince in there.
Yeah, I thought it must hurt when they put the staples inside of them. Then I realized they were only stapling the magazine Big C. But obviously, he's called the Big Sexy for a reason. But Ezekiel Elliott, obviously, he's one of the guys that would run around Ohio State. He always had his jersey up tight, so up high so you can see his six-pack, Big C. Obviously, the guy's in great shape. And he shows you that I got to start doing more sit-ups, Big C. I don't know about you, but you got to hit more sit-ups, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I picked up 2 six-packs this morning on the way back to the house.
Yeah.
I can drink one and still have a six-pack.
I just want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I got a little, I guess, a bone to pick with my friends over at CNN. They did a show called Shades of America, United Shades of America. It's a really good program. They were actually over in Kentucky. They were doing a thing on, of all things, moonshine, Big C. They talked about the great Jesse James, how he was a big moonshine guy back in the day, and some other good old boys down south. But they talked about how to make the moonshine, and you don't age it in barrels the way you do whiskey. And Big C, they're saying you get a sip of this stuff, it will knock you back on your seat. Is that one of the saloons you hang out in when you're down south kicking it, Big C? Your thoughts?
We don't call them saloons. We normally sit down on the porch. The porch is not too elevated because if you take a step or two, you may end up out on the grass or the mud.
Yeah.
But moonshine, no, you don't age it because you're not looking for flavor.
Yeah.
You're looking for content.
The content.
They age that other stuff in barrels to get color and flavoring in it.
Yeah.
Moonshine, it's about going down and killing anything in your body that might kill it.
Yes, that's it.
There's nobody drinking moonshine having to go to the doctor, Charles.
Isn't that something? There's a lot of them good old boys, and they were saying just what you're saying. They think in Kentucky, they think in the South they make the best of it. And a lot of good old boys, they do it, and they call it moonshine because they used to do it at nighttime so they would not be spotted by law enforcement. They just had to realize law enforcement, you gave them a sip, they wouldn't turn you in, Big C. That's part of what they didn't understand. Your thoughts, Big C?
People that were working in the industry,
Yeah.
Charlton, trust me.
Yeah.
You did not get a chance to run that stuff through all the time. It's like the modern day drug trade.
Yeah.
They make a bust every now and then to let you know that the DNA is working.
Yeah.
DEA is working.
Yeah.
But moonshine, as much moonshine is moving, and put it this way, the minute more than one person knows something, Charlton,
Yeah.
I no secret.
Yep.
So law enforcement has plenty of informants out there who knows what's doing. So people get cut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You take a little bit off the top, and you let these go through. Every 2 months you stop a car. All
Yeah.
right? But other than that, as long as you're dropping a case by my house every month.
That's funny. That's what law enforcement says. But anyway, I just thought that's funny. We talk about moonshining, how you good old boys get down, and CNN has a whole special on it on TV on United Shades of America. But in the world of sports, a lot of things happening too, Big C, in the world of sports. We talked about the College World Series. Kind of surprising that Oregon State was 23 in a row without a loss, and that's the second time they had a 23-game win streak. Once they got tasted by LSU, LSU got them twice, Big C, and knocked them out of the College World Series. And now you have an all-SEC matchup because Florida took care of TCU. It's just ironic when you talk about conferences and super conferences. We have the SEC. They were in against the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, and the SEC in Florida was in against the Big 12 in TCU. Combined, I think they won by the score of 9-1. It was 6-1 with LSU over Oregon State, and then 3-0, I believe, was Florida over TCU. Can you talk about how baseball is such a powerful game in the South where people just think about football? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the SEC has always been one of the perennial powers of the College World Series over the past couple of decades. Now, this is not LSU's first run
Yeah.
at a national championship. They have a couple already sitting in the trophy cases back in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
But this also, Charlton, is the first time since 2011 that you had 2 SEC teams playing each other for the College World Series championship.
Yeah.
The most ironic part about this game tonight, Charlton, is that these 2 teams were co-champs in
Yeah.
the SEC.
Yeah.
They were both 21-9 in the SEC, so they come in on equal footing.
Yeah.
They're not intimidated by each other, even though LSU was a higher seed, but Florida was just as competitive during the regular season as LSU.
Yeah.
But, Charlton, when you think about the dominance of conference, we've seen the SEC in the football championship the past couple of years. We see them consistently in the College World Series.
Yeah.
We see them in the NCAA tournament. So this is a conference, Charlton, that bodes well. And you think about Oregon State coming in ranked number 1 in the country with only 4 losses
Yeah.
in the regular season.
Yeah.
You think about that. That's a heck of a regular season record, Charlton. But the last 4 teams that have gone to Omaha with 4 losses in the regular season,
Yeah.
none of them have walked away with a championship. You think about that. 7 teams, Charlton, in the last 15 years
Yeah.
have gone to Omaha with only 4 losses in the regular season,
Yeah.
and none of them were able to make it to the championship, though.
Well, that's amazing because LSU, I mean, they're no slouch. They were 23 out of 26. They right now they're 52-18, and they're playing Florida in the best of 3. Then now Oregon State, you just talked about how dominant Big C. They were 56-6 with 2 game winning streaks. We talked about that, and I'm telling you, they had a 900 winning percentage, and that's the best since Texas had a 908 in 1982. And you just mentioned that too. So it doesn't matter what your record is going into it. Obviously, you're going to have one team standing with the crown at the end of the season. And congratulations to LSU. Not only are they dominant in football, the Tigers are dominant in track and field. They're dominant in their basketball program. And in baseball, isn't it something that they got rid of Les Miles because he only won 1 national championship, and now them good old boys with their baseball, they have a chance to win a national championship and keep the job going for the baseball program down there, Big C. So, but I just want to get this thought: how is the perception that it's just a football strong conference when we just talked about how dominant they are in basketball? They're dominant in baseball, and we know that track and field is off the hook too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's only looked at from a national ledger. Down here in the South, everybody is aware of the perennial powers in the SEC.
Yeah.
Those baseball, programs. LSU has won national titles.
Yeah.
You look at South Carolina; they have won national titles. Florida has won national championships in basketball.
Yeah.
You know what your buddy John Calipari has done over the years.
Yeah.
He's probably drinking some Jack Daniels. This is a conference that's just laden with superstars, teams.
Yeah.
Not just players, but teams. This conference has voted well. Support, from the fans is just tremendous.
Yeah.
They have some of the finest athletic facilities in all the sports.
Oh, yeah.
In college football, Charlton, when you look at their football stadiums, you have several that exceed
100,000,
100,000.
yeah.
You look at basketball arenas, Charlton, they exceed 20,000, on a regular basis. You look at some of these baseball facilities that they have in the SEC, Charlton, that seat anywhere from 15 to 20,000 home fans.
Yeah.
This is a fan-laden conference.
Yeah.
This is a conference that has built itself up over the decades because of the fan appreciation.
Yeah.
And when you build these magnificent facilities for the fans, Charlton, they pack them, and it helps the home teams play better.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Big C. And even that, when you look out, just going over to Sacramento State this weekend and watching the track and field championships, they had the U.S. Track and Field Outdoor Championships at California State University, Sacramento. Now, that's hosted the Olympic trials before. They're actually competing against Oregon up in Eugene, and then Southern California to host the 2020 Olympic trials, the Olympic track and field trials. And it's a great place for Hornet Stadium to have that event. But when you have a 110-degree temperature, it keeps a lot of the spectators away when they have aluminum seats. But that didn't stop Eric Futch, who celebrated after winning the 400-meter hurdle Sunday. And guess where he's from, Big C? He's from Florida. Your thoughts coming out to the West Coast winning, Big C.
Well, it just goes to speak, Charlton, how the SEC is a nationwide conference.
Yeah.
That they go and they dominate sports regardless of where you have the venue. We looked at the national championship game last year that was down in Tampa, which is SEC country when you realistically look at it. Florida. Now you have a Florida runner going out to the left coast out there in your neighborhood in Sacramento
Yeah.
in that 110-degree heat and winning the 400-meter, championship, the NCAA championship.
Yeah.
This is, what we're looking at as far as the evolution of sports, regardless of whether it's on the college or the pro level. These are great competitors. When you're looking at these athletes, Charlton, they're fit to run and compete in any climate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting. We always talked about the elements that will alter an athlete's performance. Athletes are so well honed.
Yeah.
And the evolution motion of athletes nowadays, Charlton, has made it almost impossible for the elements to stop them in any capacity.
Yeah, and I tell you what, he run the hurdles and he can jump in height and heat like that. Imagine what he's doing when it's not 110, when it's only like 90 degrees. So congratulations to Florida. Also for the women, there's a lot of other great races going on. You had Kenny Harrison, and she won the 100-meter high hurdles at 12. She went at 12.6 seconds at Hornet Stadium. And also Saturday, Nia Ali, she finished with a 12.68. Just a lot of competition. What I think I would like to see, Big C, in California and Florida, obviously those are states where you have a lot of fast people. I remember growing up back in the day down in Fresno, they had something called the West Coast Relays, and they attracted all of the top athletes in the nation. They would come to what's known as Ratcliffe Stadium over in Fresno. And obviously Hughes Stadium up in Sacramento has had a lot of track and field. Down in Cerritos in Southern California, they've also hosted a lot of speed. We heard about the Penn Relays over in Philadelphia, Big C, where they've had a lot of track and field events. And then, of course, up in Oregon. Just want to get your thoughts. When you look at all around the country where they have the top athletes going, do you recall the West Coast Relays and how they would attract some of the top talent in all of the country, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at these events, because athletics has expanded so much, you have to have multi-venues holding these events, because trying to get all the top athletes into one venue, it's almost like holding the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, but there's just no place to house them all at one time when you're talking about putting on these premier track and field events.
Yeah.
So you're forced to hold several around the country, Charlton, but that's also been a factor to the fans.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about the multitudes of fans who now get a chance to see these tremendous athletes live.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about the Prefontaine event up at Oregon, the University of Oregon. You talked about the Penn Relays, which is a historical event.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the greatest track and field athletes in the history of America have participated in the Penn Relays.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at these new events that are being held, like in Sacramento, the U.S. Track and Field Qualifiers. I know you talked about the one-time event, the West Coast Relays, which was synonymous with the Penn Relays, because you had the Penn Relays on the East Coast, you had the West Coast Relays on the West Coast, and now you're getting events sprinkled within the country, Charlton, in the heartland of America.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just so many tremendous athletes, and it's great that these different venues are giving these athletes an opportunity to showcase their talents. So it's not just on the left coast and the East Coast, but moved about throughout the United States, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. I do want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic event, you need athletics and event insurance. We get it through Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. You let them know that Big C Sports Center when you Google them, or you can call them up. But also, Big C, they cover professional athletes, your collegiate athletes, even your high school and your mom and pop soccer leagues. Just some names I'm going to throw out for people to pay attention to, because that competition between Oregon, between Sacramento, California, and also Southern California for the U.S. Olympic trials, it's going to be a lot of people competing, and it's going to be a great event no matter where it ends up. But some of the people you want to keep an eye on in the 400 for the men, keep an eye on a guy by the name of Fred Keeley. He's out of Texas A&M. He had a top time of 44.03 seconds. And you also have a Gil Roberts, and he's a 44.22. That's laying it down and picking it up, Big C. Or is it called picking it up and laying it down in the 400, Big C? It's going very fast no matter how you look at it. But also, more athletic competition in the 1500. That's where you really need your endurance. You got Bobby Andrews running through it for Adidas at 3 minutes and 43 seconds, or 3:43.29. And Matthew Sinowatz out of Nike for Oregon project is 3 minutes and 43 seconds. In the pole vault, to jump 19 feet 8 1/4 inches is Sam Kendricks with Nike. I wonder how Nike gets to sponsor all these big guys, Big C, especially in track and field. Do you have a clue with that? And we look at the discus, kind of like, I think you threw the discus back in the day. Mason Finley throwing for Nike. I don't think Nike has a university, but they do have a lot of athletes, Big C. He threw 206 feet 9 inches, followed by Andrew Evans, also of Nike. Does Nike have a university? He threw 205 feet 3 inches. Big C, your thought on these big boys throwing the discus that far?
It's like throwing a saucer with biscuit on there, all right?
Yeah.
When you think about sponsorship of athletes, there's always been a struggle for amateur athletes to be able to make make it because, they're limited in the revenue that they can make.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they lose their amateurism, and I don't know why NCAA figures that, if an athlete makes over a certain amount of money, they no longer can be, an amateur. But yet when we look at the Olympics, when you have the NBA players, Charlton, competing in the Olympics,
yeah,
you have the hockey players competing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that Michael Phelps haven't made $1?
No. No.
I think the NCAA, really needs to take a step back and look at what it's doing wrong.
Yeah.
By not allowing these athletes to earn money up front. When you talk about these athletes being on Team Nike,
yeah,
you think Nike's only giving them a pair of sneakers and a swatch to wear on a shirt? No, Charles.
Probably not.
They're taking care of a lot of the needs for these athletes. And that's what's wrong with college athletics, as we've talked about it many times on our show.
Yeah.
Whether it's basketball, baseball, football, track and field, whatever sport it is, Charlton, allow these athletes to have a stipend to make life easier.
Yeah.
But when you got major universities making $150, $200 million
oh my goodness, yeah,
from their sports team, you got coaches making $9, $10, $11 million a season, Charlton, and you got players that can't get a sandwich,
yeah,
without being suspended,
yeah,
or losing their scholarship.
Yeah.
So, there's some unjustification being done by the NCAA towards the amateur athlete in America that, they're being pimped. And let's be honest about
yeah,
it. A pimp gets it all, and the worker gets nothing.
And
that's basically what the NCAA is to the athletes out there in America. They're pimping these athletes, making millions, billions of dollars, Charlton, throughout these major universities in the country. And these athletes are sitting there and they say, if you do something wrong, you cross what I say,
yeah,
we will get rid of you. We will take your scholarship, and you'll never play again. But we're going to get our money. We got all the fat cats sitting over here.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the top 25 college coaches in America, Charlton,
yeah,
of the top 25 teams, I don't think any of those head coaches make less than $3.5 million. When you look at the top 25 from last football season,
yeah,
none of those head coaches make less than $3.5 million a year. Now, I understand it's a hard and stressful job to be a college football coach.
Yeah.
You sit up there in your luxury office.
Yeah.
You got 23 assistant coaches handling everything that you need.
Yep.
You only go out and recruit 5 times through the year just because you have some special player that you want to get to come to your program. You host 2 or 3 golf tournaments during the off season. You hang out with the boosters. Oh, you and your wife get a new car every year.
Yeah.
Buy one of the boosters from their dealership.
Yeah.
Your house is paid for by the boosters, so you have no house note.
Yeah.
But you're making $5 million. And
Yeah.
you're saying that you're not making enough. But yet you can't buy a player sandwich without it getting suspended, Joe.
And Big C, you just brought up a very good point when we talk about amateur athletics. And I love track and field. I remember running track and field back in the day, and I talked about the West Coast relays. I want to pay a little homage to the women. But you know how we talked about track and field? We talked about college baseball and college football. The SEC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 were represented in the College World Series. Well, listen to this. Now, a lot of these kids, they go to college too, but they have their sponsors that can pay for them because perhaps they decided to go pro. For the women and the 100-meter hurdles, pay attention to these names when we're coming up on the Olympic trials. Because Kendra Harrison for Adidas, okay? You have her name, Nia Ali, and she's also out there looking at Adidas. There's also a Christina Manning, sponsored by Adidas. In the 400, you have Cornera Hayes, sponsored by Nike. You have Phyllis Francis, sponsored by Nike. You have Kendall Ellis, who runs for Southern California in third. Now, these are all collegiate athletes, Big C, but I guess the ones who go out and get the sponsorship, they're forfeiting their chance to go back to college. So I name up the top 3 right now for the women in the 400 meter. And the third right now, ranked third, is Ellis out of Southern California. The first 2 in Hayes and Francis, they're sponsored by Nike. You don't think money can help these people eat and get better training? And I think your point is so spot on. Why have this free labor when it's helping you make tens of millions? And Big C, I think we just pointed that out. But congratulations to everybody competing for the U.S. Olympic trials. And we want to see you do nothing but the best. Big C, as we jump across to another sport in the NHL, I think they have some good old boys that they were putting into the Hall of Fame. And I know with that being said, you have a big heart for what happens in the world of the NHL. And I like the NHL, and I like a lot of the other sports that go on. But in the NHL, I think they had some people put into the Hall of Fame. And you might be better at pronouncing those Canadian names, but I think it's Timu, I think it's Paul, and there's somebody else, one of them good old boys, put into the Hall of Fame for the NHL. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, those names are Timo Solani. Let me help you out.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah,
right?
yeah. Those are.
It's like trying to sing "Old Canada," Charlton, when you're going in. And every now and then you have a little bit of problem with it. But we're not going to hold that against you.
Yeah, don't hold it against us California boys. But
and let's say Paul Correa.
Yeah.
Also, these members were elected to the Canadian Hockey Hall of the NHL Hockey Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
3 of the all-time greats in the NHL. A total of 7 players were elected. Also coaches and a couple of female players.
Yeah.
But when you think about hockey, and the NHL season just ended with the Stanley Cup, with the Predators facing the Penguins.
Yeah.
You know, it's been such great hockey lore over the years. And these players go down as some of the greats of all time to be immortalized in the NHL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that's the pinnacle for any professional athlete, Charlton, to be nominated and to be elected to the Hall of Fame of your professional sport. You
Yeah.
know, so many players don't get a chance to win championships. We think about so many great players over the decades.
Oh, yeah.
That don't have those championship rings, Charlton. But when you have that Hall of Fame ring, yes, a lot of players have championship rings, but even fewer have Hall of Fame rings, Charlton.
That's a very good point, Big C. And so congratulations to the good old boys running around on ice. You know, Big C, we were just talking about the good game of golf. We love the game of golf, but it's really lacked a lot. And we talked about the hope they have right now. They don't have Tiger Woods to kind of get people to tune in. Tiger versus Phil Mickelson was kind of like must-see golf. Back in the day, you had Hogan and you had a lot of the Nicklaus and a lot of the good old boys, Vijay Singh. And now Spieth, you know, he got a chance to win the Travelers Championship and a kind of a star-studded finish in a sense where he was pushed, but he found a way to win. And they're trying to make it a big thing. I think it's good for golf to have him win a game where he had a shootout to come from the chance to tie it up and win it, Big C. What does that mean for golf, that Spieth? I just wish I would have seen him competing against Sergio Garcia, but they were, you know, continents apart, Big C. Your thought on golf and how they're trying to get back the fan interest on television.
Well, you know, you think about Spieth, Charlton. He's a young and up-and-coming pro. I mean, he can be dominant at times, but he also disappears.
Yeah.
But he won this tournament in dramatic fashion, Charlton. He holed it from the bunker.
Yeah.
You know, in the first hole of a playoff.
Yeah.
Which led him to his 14th, you know, championship since he's been on tour.
Yeah.
You know, he 2 years ago, everyone thought he was the hottest golfer out there. He had slipped a bit.
Yeah.
He is no longer the world number one. But golf is chasing. It is chasing a true leader. It is chasing that diamond, Charlton, that everybody will gravitate to. That when he shows up for a tournament, it's must-see, as you said, television.
Yeah.
Golf has just not been able to capture that one young superstar. You know, when you look at the Masters in the last 5 years, really in the last 10 years, Charlton,
Yeah.
Bubba Watson has won it twice.
Yeah.
A local Georgia boy. Everybody else has just been hit and miss. So to have that dominance, Charlton, on the golf circuit, you know, Rory McIlroy was thought to be the world's next great golfer.
Oh, yeah.
He has just not panned out.
No.
Sergio Garcia's career has been up and down, and he finally won his first Masters after over 15 years on the tour, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, you know, even Ricky Fowler has been up and down, back and forth. Jordan Day, you know, is the world number one golfer, but he's not playing that way.
Yeah.
So when we look at golf, man, we're looking for that savior in golf. He is not there, or he hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah.
You know, we look at Dustin Johnson. You know, he still hasn't recovered from that drink and fall down at the Masters.
Yeah.
You know, when we look at our golf lore, and we're looking for that true leader out there on the tour, Charlton, you know, the only thing that's leading the PGA Tour right now is the broadcasters. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that's consistent.
Yeah, that's consistent there, Big C. So hopefully, you know, Spieth will try to light it up for the golfers and make people come back to the TV sets. But if you're going to have, could you imagine Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson golfing on different continents at the same time? That's not a good way to market your sport when you don't have the best people going up against it, Big C. So hopefully the golf masters can figure out how to make that happen, and hopefully we'll see some of that happen this year, as a lot of people still want to try to enjoy a game of golf that a lot of people wish they could play but aren't quite as good as the guys they see on TV. And Big C, as we get ready to close out, you know, the NBA, I think the NBA championship was won about 2 weeks ago by Golden State, and I think they had the parade over in Oakland around Lake Merritt about, a week and a half ago. Why are we just now seeing this NBA giving out trophies? What are they giving out trophies for now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, they're giving out trophies for the season being over for 2 months.
Yeah.
That's what, I understand what the NBA is doing from a marketing perspective, and TNT would undoubtedly do a great show tonight in broadcasting this spectacle.
Yeah.
But when we look at it, Charlton, it's sort of like anticlimactic.
Yeah.
We know that Russell Westbrook is going to win the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
That's hands down. The Rookie of the Year is still a toss-up. We know that, most likely Draymond Green or Rudy Gobert will get Defensive Player of the Year, the big center out of Utah.
Yeah.
One of those two will get Defensive Player of the Year. But, you think about the top 3 players that were up for the MVP award. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He played his heart out in the first round, but he was eliminated.
Yeah.
You look at James Harden. He was gone after 2 rounds, Charlton.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard, number 3 in the voting. He was gone after 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But when we really want to take a look at the championship, because these awards should have been given out prior to the championship. When we look at the championship, we probably saw the best 2 players, over a 15-game, 20-game stretch that we've seen in the NBA this year. When you look at what Kevin Durant did, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the last 5 games, as well, it was equal, if not eclipsed by LeBron James, which neither one of these players, Charlton, are finalists.
Yep.
Okay? In tonight's ceremony. And yet, LeBron James averaged a triple-double in the finals.
Yeah.
I understand Westbrook did it during the season, but LeBron James did something nobody had ever done before.
When it counted.
In the finals.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
And you look at what Kevin Durant did. He was just a step behind, even though he was the finals MVP.
Yeah.
These 2 great players just put on a show. And not only that, Charlton, their supporting cast.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, any other time, if LeBron and Kevin Durant were in the finals, and Cleveland had won, he would have been the MVP.
Yeah.
Okay? Hands down. And let's not talk about Steph Curry, who is nipping at Kevin Durant's heels, point for point and rebound for rebound, with the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
So we saw 4 of the greatest players in the universe, Charlton, over a 5-game span compete against each other. And neither one of these players are in any of the award ceremonies tonight.
Yeah.
Steph Curry was a 2-time consecutive MVP. Kevin Durant's a former MVP. LeBron's won it, 20 times?
Yeah.
But none of these players have been nominated for the awards tonight. So I have to question the NBA, Charlton, and its timing as far as this event goes tonight.
Yeah.
Take care of it when the season is over.
Yeah.
Because don't come out anticlimactic after Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kyrie Irving just got through putting on 4 of the greatest basketball performances over a 5-game stretch in NBA history, Charlton.
Yeah, Big C, before we close out, I want to ask you, with all the talk about what the NBA is doing, trying to stretch the season, I think they're trying to be like the NFL Network, where football never ends. It's on like 7 days a week, even though they may reloop a lot of their shows. They were talking about the great Andy Reid earlier today and how is he one of the greatest coaches. I think he's number 3 in the all-time winningest list. But I want to ask you your thoughts on all the talk of the NBA, whether it's Paul George going somewhere, whether it's CP3 going somewhere to help some team win a championship, or if it's Blake Griffin. Have you noticed that none of these guys that are can't-miss guys that they want to add to either the Lakers or Cleveland or even Carmelo Anthony, they have not won a championship, not one of them. Now, this is different when they were trying to get Shaq, because Shaq, when he came to L.A. and went back to Miami, he had already taken the championships with him when he went to Miami. LeBron, when he came from Cleveland and went to Miami and going back to Cleveland, he brought some championships with him, Big C. And so we know what it's like to have players that have won. When Garnett left Minnesota, went to Boston, he actually brought a championship with him. When the Truth went from Boston to the Clippers, he brought a championship with him, Big C. Everyone that's going to get big money, they don't even have a championship, Big C. How is that not making the statements, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, that's like a draft pick. You're paying a guy on what you call
Yeah.
but its potential to win.
Yeah.
And so whether it ever comes to fruition or not, which we've seen it less than we have succeeded.
Yeah.
You know, to build a championship team, Charlton, is a diamond in the rough. And you have to bring in multiple players to do that. You talked about Garnett going to Boston. He wasn't the only one who showed up in Boston. I think Ray Allen might have popped into town.
Yeah, Ray Allen.
You know, at the time when he came, which helped facilitate that championship. Even when you look at Shaq going to the Clippers.
Yeah.
There was another guy that showed up named Robert Horry.
Yeah.
For some reason, wherever he shows up, Charlton, teams win championships.
Oh, yeah, with the Lakers, yeah. Yeah.
So you're not just bringing in one player, Charlton. You have to bring in two and sometimes three players. When Shaq went to Miami,
Yeah.
There was a guy named Chris Box went along with him. You know, Miller went along there. Ray Allen showed up down
Yeah.
there. You know, the Birdman showed up in town. There were several players in that group. It wasn't just LeBron James. People tend to think that it's just one superstar.
Yeah.
When you go into a town and win a championship, Charlton, you have to bring a layer of players in that you've established and have a chance to win.
Yeah.
Just one man doesn't win a championship. I mean, everybody will say Kevin Durant went to Golden State and they won a championship.
Yeah.
You got to look at several other players that they brought in. They brought in McGee.
Yeah.
They brought in West.
Yeah.
You know, they brought in a couple other younger players. Charlton. They brought in the big center from Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his name right now.
Zaza Pachulia, yeah. Pachulia.
Yeah, Pachulia.
Yeah.
You know, so Golden State actually brought in 5 players.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Kevin Durant. They brought in 5 players.
That's very
So
true.
You have to understand, to build a team, you have to have that supporting cast, not just the one player. So when a fan said, oh, Kevin Durant was the difference maker, no, it was the 5 players that they brought in
Yeah.
that were the difference makers in Golden State, along with the great coaching of Steve Kerr and Mike Brown.
Big C, that's very well said. I want to get your final thoughts. We've talked about track and field out here in Sacramento State for the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. We talked about college baseball. Congratulations to the SEC with LSU going up against Florida again. We talked about the West Coast relays, the Penn relays all across the country. You know, we always talk about what's going to happen to make the world of sports better. Paid homage to the NHL, and also even got in some of the women's scores from track and field, some of the future stars to look for from Nike, Big C. What are you looking forward to going into this week, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, what I'm looking forward to is going down to the rail yard tonight. I think they got a shipment of air conditioners coming in.
Yeah.
I got some friends going to come and pick up.
Oh.
I can't put nothing in the back of this way.
Yeah.
I don't want to scratch up
Yeah.
anything. But I got some friends going to pick up, so we might roll down to the rail yard and see if we can get one of them box cars open. Don't let nobody know what we're doing. This is what I have to do.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to put this in the show just because.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm really looking forward to, finding a new air conditioner.
Well, Big C, do it at nighttime, just like building the Escalade, and then also the moonshine. They do it at nighttime. And speaking of doing it at nighttime, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you there's never, ever any room for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911 so she won't have to deal with it on her own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.